1. Introduction. My name is Julie. I was 24 years old. My life was simple, perhaps too simple. I lived in a small apartment located in the busy part of the city. Every morning I woke up early. My job was at a small, cheap cafe. I served coffee to many different people. I also cleaned the tables and washed the dishes. It was a tiring job, and the pay was not much. From the cafe window, I often watched the street. Many wealthy people passed by. They wore expensive clothes, suits made of fine material, and shiny gold watches. They drove big, luxurious cars that made little noise. These people always looked confident and important. They seemed to live in a different world, far from my small apartment and my simple cafe. I often dreamed of having a life like theirs. I wanted to wear beautiful clothes, to travel, and to not worry about money. I wished for an escape from my everyday routine, from the same faces and the same tasks. My days felt long and sometimes boring. I wanted something more, something exciting, something better. One quiet evening, when the cafe was almost empty, a man walked in. He was very tall and had a confident way of moving. He wore a dark, expensive-looking suit. His clothes were perfect, without a single wrinkle. He looked around the cafe slowly, as if he owned the place. His eyes were sharp, and his face showed no worry. He walked to a small table near the window and sat down. He ordered only 1 cup of black coffee. I felt a strange energy around him. He was different from all the other customers I usually saw. I brought him his coffee. He looked at me and gave a small smile. It was a polite smile, but it also seemed to hold a secret. He drank his coffee slowly. When he finished, he stood up to leave. On the table, next to the empty cup, he left a tip. It was not a small change. It was a single, crisp $100 bill. My eyes became wide. $100 for just 1 cup of coffee. It was an amount I usually earned in almost a full day of work. He looked at me one last time, nodded, and then walked out of the cafe. After he left, I picked up the money. The bill felt different in my hand. It was a lot of money, too much for a simple coffee. I stood there for a long time, holding the money and looking at the empty street. I could not stop thinking about the tall man, Anton. His name was Anton. I remembered his confident walk, his expensive suit, and especially his unforgettable tip. That night, sleep did not come easily. My mind was full of thoughts about him and the different world he seemed to come from. I wondered if my life could ever change, if I could ever enter a world like his. The $100 tip felt like a small key, maybe to a door I had only dreamed of opening. 2. A new job. Anton returned to the cafe the next day. I was surprised to see him. He walked in confidently and smiled. His voice was soft but powerful. He told me about his businesses, nightclubs, hotels, and many other places. He was a rich man. He said he liked my honest eyes. Then he invited me to dinner at a luxurious hotel. This was very different from my normal life. I felt nervous yet excited. I said yes. That evening, I went to the hotel. It was a place I had only seen from the street. The hotel was beautiful and fancy. I met Anton in the lobby. He looked impressive. We went to a restaurant. Everything shone brightly. The lights were soft. Crystal glasses and gold plates were on the table. Soft music played. It was a grand place. I felt like I was in a movie. I had never been to such a luxurious dinner. During dinner, Anton talked about success and power. He said only smart and brave people reach the top. He often looked at me. He made me feel like he saw something special. He believed in hard work and big dreams. He made it sound like anything was possible for me. I listened carefully. His words made me think about my own life. I wanted a life with success, not just a simple cafe job. He made me feel I could have that life. Then Anton made an offer. He said, "Work with me." He needed a personal assistant. I did not fully understand the job, but he promised me a lot of money, more than I could ever imagine. He said I would have a new, exciting life. He made it sound easy and wonderful. He said I just needed to be smart and brave. I thought about my small apartment and old job. This was my chance to change everything. I did not think for long. I wanted to change my life so much. I wanted to leave my old, boring days behind. This offer was everything I had wished for. It was a way out. I looked at Anton. He was waiting for my answer. I took a deep breath. I said yes. I accepted his job offer. I felt a mix of fear and happiness. My heart beat fast. My life was about to change. I hoped it would be for the better. I was eager to start this new job. 3. My first task. Anton gave me a new job. On paper, it was a personal assistant role. But soon I understood it was not a normal office job. My tasks were not clear. They were vague. I had to go to many different meetings. I often carried mysterious envelopes. I also talked to people I did not know. Anton always gave me one clear rule: do not ask questions, just do the work. I felt a little confused, but I did what he told me. I wanted this new life to work. One day, Anton gave me a small black bag. "Take this bag," he said. "Deliver it to the man in the red car outside. Do not open it, just give it to him." My hands started to shake. I felt nervous. This was my first delivery task. I took the bag carefully. I walked out. The red car was there. A man was inside. I walked to the car window and gave him the black bag. He took it without a word. Then he drove away. I went back inside. I had not opened the bag. I had not asked any questions. I followed Anton's instructions. Later that night, Anton looked pleased. He handed me money. It was $5,000 in cash. "This is for your loyalty," he said. I had never held so much money. My old job paid very little. This amount was more than I earned in many months. It felt strange and heavy. I knew I could not tell my family or friends about this money or my new job. They would not understand. They would ask too many questions. So I decided to lie. I told everyone I worked in a big hotel office. I said I helped with papers and bookings. This was my first big lie since starting with Anton. It felt wrong, but I wanted to keep this new, exciting life. My old, simple life felt very far away. This new life was full of new things, but also a little scary. I often wondered about the contents of those mysterious envelopes, but I always remembered Anton's words, "Do not ask questions." So I stayed quiet. I just did the work. I held the $5,000. This new life was real. For a different life. Anton began to take me to many new places. We went to big parties, fancy dinners, and special events called galas. These places were full of rich people. I wore beautiful dresses. I never thought I would own such clothes. They were long and shiny. I also wore expensive jewelry like diamonds. People looked at me when I walked into a room. They smiled and spoke to me. I liked this feeling. I liked the attention. It made me feel important. I also liked the power that came with Anton. My life was very different now. It was far from the small cafe. I went to places I only dreamed about before. But at these events, I also started to see strange things. People often spoke in low voices. They whispered about money and agreements. I saw them give each other small envelopes. Sometimes they laughed, but their laughs did not sound happy. They sounded nervous. One night I saw Anton talking to an important man. This man was a politician. They stood in a dark part of the room. They shook hands, and Anton gave him a small, dark package. It looked like money. I did not ask about it. I tried not to think about these things. I told myself it was just part of Anton's business. It was my job. When I was alone, I often looked in the mirror. I saw a woman with bright red lipstick and shining diamonds. Her hair was styled perfectly. Sometimes I did not recognize her. She looked different from the old Julie. The girl from the cafe seemed far away. I felt a distance growing between who I was and who I used to be. My heart started to feel heavy sometimes. I told myself I was happy. I had money and a new life. But a small part of me wondered if this was truly me. Was this the life I wanted? I was living a different life now. It was full of new experiences, but also new secrets. Anton was always there, guiding me through this new world. He taught me how to act, how to smile, and how to stay quiet. I was learning fast. 5. His control. Anton's behavior changed. He started to control my life more and more. He called me very often, sometimes every hour. He wanted to know where I was and what I was doing. He told me what clothes to wear for different events. He also told me who I could talk to at parties. It felt like he was always watching me. His mood was not always the same. One day, he could be very kind. He would give me expensive gifts. He would gently kiss my hand and smile. He would say nice things to me, making me feel special. But the next day, he could be very different. He would be cold and speak sharply. His words felt like a knife. He would look at me without warmth, and I would feel small and afraid. This change in him was confusing. I never knew which Anton I would see. One evening, I was going to Anton's penthouse. As I arrived, I saw a woman leaving. She was wearing a beautiful dress. My heart stopped for a moment. It was the same dress Anton had bought for me just a few weeks before. It was a unique design, a lovely shade of blue. There was no mistaking it. My stomach felt a sudden twist. I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. When I saw Anton, I asked him about the woman and the dress. I tried to sound calm, but my voice shook a little. He looked at me with a cold expression. He did not answer my question directly. Instead, he said, "Don't act like a child, Julie. You are part of my world now." His words were firm. He made it clear that I had no right to question him. In that moment, a clear thought came to my mind. It hit me strongly. Anton did not love me. His feelings were not about true affection or care. He saw me as something he owned. I was like another one of his expensive things, like a car or a piece of art. I was part of his collection, part of his world that he controlled. He wanted me to follow his rules and stay in the place he chose for me. He wanted to control every part of my life. This realization was hard. It was a cold truth. The dream of a better life, the luxury, and the attention now felt like a cage. I was living in his control. I was not free. 6. A dark secret. One afternoon, I found myself alone in Anton's large, quiet office. He was not there, and I needed a pen. I opened a drawer in his big, dark wooden desk. What I saw inside made my heart stop for a second. It was not pens or paper. Instead, there were many different passports. They all had different names and different pictures, but the faces looked like Anton. Next to them were thick stacks of money, tied with rubber bands. It was a huge amount of cash, more than I could count. My hands started to shake. Then I saw something else, a small, dark gun. It lay there, cold and dangerous, next to some official-looking papers that seemed fake. My blood turned cold. This was a very dark and dangerous secret. Anton's world was not just about luxury. It was about something much more serious and illegal. A few days later, I was with Anton at his luxurious club. The music was loud and people were laughing. Suddenly, 2 men entered. They looked very serious and had hard faces. They quickly went to Anton and started to speak loudly to him in a language I did not understand. Their voices were angry and sharp. Anton's face became tight. He quickly pushed me into a small, quiet room near the main office. "Stay here. Do not make a sound," he said, his voice low and very firm. I was very scared. I stood absolutely still and listened through the closed door. I could hear their angry voices getting louder. Then I heard some English words, clear enough to understand. I clearly heard money and then police. After that, I heard the word betrayal. My stomach felt sick, and a cold wave went through me. Was Anton in trouble with the police? Was he involved in something truly illegal? That night, Anton came home very late, much later than usual. He was incredibly angry. His face was red and his eyes were dark with rage. He did not even look at me. He walked straight into the living room and picked up a heavy glass from the table. With a sudden, violent movement, he threw it across the room. The glass hit the far wall with a loud crash and broke into many sharp pieces. "No one betrays me," he shouted at the empty room. His voice was full of deep hate and uncontrolled anger. I had never, ever seen him like this before. He looked like a completely different person. This was not the charming man who had offered me a new life. This was a dark, violent, and truly terrifying man. I stood very still, watching him, unable to move. My body was shaking from head to toe. I realized then that I did not know Anton at all. He had a deep, dark, and terrifying secret side. And now I had seen it with my own eyes. I felt a deep, terrible fear inside me. My beautiful new life felt like a dangerous trap. I was truly living in a nightmare. 7. The problem. The police started to look at Anton's many businesses. News headlines appeared everywhere. People read about him in the newspapers and watched stories on TV. They called him the king of dirty money. Reporters waited outside his tall buildings day and night. Anton became very angry. He stayed inside his penthouse more often, away from the cameras. His phone rang constantly. He often spoke in a low, quiet voice, making secret calls. One evening, Anton came to me. His face was tense and troubled. He said, "The police are asking too many questions. They are looking into everything." He looked at me with serious, worried eyes. "Julie, you need to understand something important," he said. "If I have problems, big problems, you will have them too." My heart beat very fast. I did not understand his words at first. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He explained quickly. "Your name is on some of the company papers, many of them." I remembered signing so many documents for him. He always told me, "Just sign here, it is part of your job." I never read them. I trusted him then. Now, a cold, terrible fear filled me. My name was on documents connected to his bad business. He continued, "If they find my secrets, they will find your name on those papers too. If I go down, you go down with me." He meant if he went to jail, I might go to jail too. My hands started to shake uncontrollably. I thought about my simple, safe life before Anton. That life felt like a dream from a very long time ago. Now I was truly in danger. A few days later, Anton came to me again. He looked exhausted and scared. He said, "We need to leave this place. We must go now." He took my hand. "We can go to another country, far away from all of this. A new life, just you and me," he said, trying to smile. He spoke of warm, sunny beaches and a life with no problems. For a very short moment, I almost believed him. His voice was soft, like it was when we first met. He tried to paint a beautiful picture of a future free from fear. But then, all the memories came back to me. I remembered the fake passports in his drawer. I remembered the gun. I remembered his angry shouting. I remembered seeing another woman wearing the same dress. I remembered his control, his coldness. I remembered all the lies I told. I remembered the terrible feeling of being owned, not truly loved. This was not love. This was a trap. I looked at his face. I could see the fear in his own eyes now. He was not trying to save me. He was only trying to save himself. He needed me because my name was on those dangerous papers. I had to make a choice. It was the hardest choice of my life. I could not run away with him. I could not live a life of lies and fear anymore. I wanted my freedom back, no matter the cost. I took a deep breath. My hands were still shaking, but my mind was finally clear. I walked to the phone. I called the police. 8. A new start. Anton was arrested at the airport. This happened 2 days after I called the police. I saw it on the news. The TV showed him in handcuffs. His face looked calm, but his eyes seemed to look right at the camera. Maybe he was already planning something new. I felt a strange mix of fear and relief watching him. The big, shiny world he had shown me was finally gone. The police questioned me for many hours. They asked me about Anton and his businesses. I decided to tell them everything. I did not hide anything. I told them about the mysterious envelopes, the secret meetings, and the money. I told them about the drawer with fake passports and the gun. It was hard to speak about some things, but I knew it was the right choice. I wanted to be free from all the lies and secrets. After that, I lost everything. The police took all the money. I had to give back the expensive dresses and jewelry. The luxurious apartment was not mine anymore. The fake life I had with Anton disappeared completely. It was a big price to pay, but I got something more important back. I got my freedom. I was not afraid anymore. I did not have to lie to my family or friends. I could finally breathe easily. Now, I live in a small room again. It is very different from Anton's penthouse. I work in a bookstore. I like the quiet. I wear simple clothes now. Nobody looks at me with special interest, and that is fine. I do not want attention anymore. My days are calm and simple. I make enough money to live and I feel safe. Sometimes, at night, I remember the past. I think about Anton's voice, how he spoke with power. I remember the feeling of diamonds on my skin and the smell of his expensive cologne. I remember the big parties and the people who seemed to have everything. I remember how that life looked beautiful from the outside. But I also remember the fear, the lies, and the control. I learned a very important lesson. Dirty money can buy many luxurious things. It can buy expensive clothes and big houses. It can buy attention, but it can never buy real peace. I paid a price to escape that world. Now, I have my peace. It is worth more than any diamond.